You've talked about how you've had a show everything's gone wrong. Or, I don't know about everything, but things have gone wrong.
Things have gone wrong, yeah.
Can you give us a story about a time where you're on stage and it was just as bad as it could get?
I'm trying to think of some. Yeah, there's been some shockers. I mean, actually, that one it was actually in Edinburgh, because in Edinburgh, the entire city gets taken over by this fringe festival. It's not just stand-up comedy. There's performances of all kinds. You're probably doing podcasts there. Everyone's doing all this stuff.
We might have to join them.
Mate, head on down.
Never know.
But because of that, it gets a lot of international audiences. It gets audiences from America, from Canada, from Europe, it's just a melting pot of people. And so you just never know who's going to turn up. And it's always weird because you also think like who's going to be in the audience and whether they're going to get along with you. Like I remember one night at Edinburgh, I walk out and all the front row are kids that are under like 9 years old.
What?
And I was like, what's going on here? And the parents were like, oh, it's fine, it's fine. I said, yeah, but you know what this kind of show is? Like,
I wouldn't say it's appropriate.
It's stand-up comedy.
For a 9-year-old?
Yeah, it's stand-up comedy. And I said, is everything all right? And they said, yeah. And to break the tension, I said to one of the girls, and it looked like butter would melt in her mouth. Like she was just this cutest little girl. She had red hair. I still see her now, just piercing blue eyes. And she sat there and she had a big grin on her face. And I said, I tell you what, to break the tension, why don't you into the microphone say the worst word that you know, the worst swear word that you know. And this in front of her parents.
What did she say?
Well, her eyes just lit up. And in her beautiful little accent, she just goes, I went, oh, okay, that's nice.
Lovely.
And her parents laughed and they got a photo with me because they're like, no, it's fine. We expected that. It did whatever. So like, okay. But then this other night, I remembered, you just have nights where audiences aren't laughing and people think, oh, it's always the comedian's fault. And you're like, it's not necessarily. People, you can do a show and you've done pretty much the same show for however long. And then on that night, people just aren't laughing. They're just not into it. And it's just weird.
Be so deflating.
Yeah, because I know musos have said the same thing. They're like, yeah, you play the same songs, but yet some nights people are like, no, it's all right. Like they're just not into it. And you go, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And as a performer, that's the energy. That's the thing that pushes you over the top. If the people are into it, you're like, mate, we're up and about. Here we go.
Yeah.
But in this particular night, no one's laughing. And it's an hour-long show. And I'm talking 20 minutes in, I haven't really got a huge laugh. But there was these 3 people in the corner and they were into it.
Yeah.
But everyone else wasn't.
Yeah.
And because for me, with an audience, you're lit on stage, but the audience is dark. So you can't really see who the individuals are. You can just hear them not laughing. And I'm like, oh, da-da-da-da, bang. And then you hit a punchline and they're like, I guess. And the 3 people will be like, nah. And you go, and that sounds almost worse because it's, could you imagine a room full of people? There's just a couple of people going, nah. And everyone else is like...
It would be better for it to be silent because then they don't actually know if it's the joke or not. Whereas if you've got a couple of people... Did you point out to them saying, oh, thanks, guys?
Well, they said there was a bit of that. I'm like, oh, you guys are into it. Okay. Yeah. And then so this 20-minute mark, and comedians know this, that you can have some lines in your show where you're like, surely this one's going to land. Like, this one's a good line. It's funny. And I said the joke, and then those 3 people did laugh. But the strange thing was, it was like there was a spokesperson from the rest of the quiet audience, like they'd nominated someone, and this person leant across to those people laughing and just went, shh, and just told them to shut up. And I'm like, I start laughing because I'm like, it's like you're like, no, we're here to break him.
We've literally come in here to be silent.
Just break his hopes and dreams. Like, I don't want to encourage him.
Told him to shut up at a stand-up
And the funny thing was,
comedy.
that was in Edinburgh. The next year, I would open by telling that story. I say, this is what happened to me last year.
Yeah.
And then these people start laughing, like really hard. And I said, what? And they go, we're the 3 people.
Oh.
They were like, we're the guys. And when they go, we came back. We were there. And we were like afterwards saying that we can't believe no one else is laughing. Like this poor guy's working his ass off. And I thought, that's really nice. So there you go, kids. Even if a couple hundred people aren't laughing, 3 were, they came back.
I cannot. Telling them to shut up at a comedy.
It's brutal, isn't it?
That is brutal. Absolutely. Yeah. We've talked about hecklers and you don't get too many and you handle them pretty well.
Not too many. Like I said, I try to have fun with them rather than... I mean, sometimes people are... I hate to say this because this is pretty judgmental, but I would say the most dangerous people in an audience are middle-aged drunken women.
Ah,
and this
in what way?
This is my theory. That being men, and we probably... I don't know, you guys... Well, I'd like to think you're at an age where you haven't drank alcohol. I'd like to know, boys.
No, never touched it.
Good to hear. But when you are a young fella and when I say that, obviously over 18, 21 in some countries, but and you're out, probably not as much these days, but when I was younger, if you got too loudish, security would just drag you out. Now, they'd rough you up to what level, who knows, but they at least will grab you, throw you out. You could even get maybe a couple of cheeky whacks on the way. So I think men learn to be like, oh, I got to shut up.
Yeah.
When I don't say, I don't think you should do that. But then a woman has never, like, they've never learnt that there's consequences sometimes if you go a little, go hard. So then there's middle-aged women that always find that if they're really drunk, it's always been a middle-aged woman where you're like, that is great that you are, and they're usually not heckling to like, this shit. They're just like, yeah, that happened to me once. And I remember that. My kids did the same thing. And I was saying it. And you're like, that's really nice. It's great that you're involved. But it's just that, like,
Can you tone it down
just
a
let
bit,
the performer perform. But they're like, no, I just wanted to say. And you're like, yeah. Because I think they also think you're talking to them.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
And you think, no,
Yeah.
you need to be quiet now.
Do you-
And so that's, I always say, and this is a rule of thumb. This is just that they're the most dangerous audience members.
Do you tell them to shut up, or do you just let the security?
No,
Do the security kind of do it themselves? Say, "Come on, let's just calm down."
It's always a thing of like, I will talk to an audience and I'll be like, hey, like in friendly, fun way, hey, like it's just that people want to hear performers. So, if you could tone it down, that'd be great. And usually that does work. But if they keep going, yeah, you do have to go security. And then they'll say, hey, you've had a good run, but see you later.